Okay, I see some folks filtering in, so I will give it another few moments and then go over some logistics, and then we will get started. Okay, welcome to this virtual panel to learn more about Harvey Mudd College. It is important that you are here, and we are thankful that you are here because this is a great way for you to learn from an expert who knows about this institution and can answer all of your questions in these difficult times when you perhaps were not able to visit when you normally would. So this is a great segue to learn more about this institution. This part is really, really important, and I'll put this in the chat too. Our panelists cannot see or hear you. So if you have a question at any time, you can click the Q&A button. The Q&A button is either at the bottom of your screen on the toolbar or at the top, depending on your screen. If you click that, you can ask a question again at any time throughout this session. And they will be able to answer you when either at live or they'll be able to answer you privately. A recording of this is available at the StriveScan website, so you will be able to have access to that and everything that's in the questions and the chats in just a few days. You can sign up for more sessions. There's no more after this one tonight, but there are more tomorrow. So you're welcome to sign up for more sessions, the same place that you signed up for this one. And just a reminder again, your microphone and your camera are off. So if you have a question, please, please, please use the Q&A button at any time, and they will make sure that they answer your question before the session is over or get a hold of you privately. And with that, we will kick it off.
Okay, well, I'm going to do a share screen here. I want to say hello to all of you and thank you for giving up your time to learn about Harvey Mudd College. My name is Peter Osgood. I'm the Director of Admission. You can see my contact information on the right part of this slide. Is this coming through? Yes, for all of you? Christy?
Yes, looks good.
Okay, excellent. I can't see the little green box around my screen. All right, so it looks like it's good. I'm gonna first give you kind of an introduction to where we are, what we do, what we're about, and then I'll convert that into talking about admission kinds of things, financial aid, and how we're dealing with COVID. While we're at this, I'll do that later. Let me just get started. Okay, so first of all, where we are, we're in Southern California. We're about 35 miles east of downtown Los Angeles. So this is a inset of the area of Los Angeles. You can see there's an ocean here. That's the Pacific Ocean. It's nice. We're in a really nice location. We have good weather. It's actually 84 degrees today here where we are. We're proximate to mountains. The picture here on the far right is literally about 20 minutes drive from our campus. And there's very good biking paths, hiking trails, better skiing about an hour and a half away. But we're also an hour and a half away from Palm Springs in the desert. We're about an hour train ride or car to downtown LA, which has all kinds of cultural advantages to it. I mentioned the ocean. We're about 45 minutes from Disneyland, the world's biggest human trap built by a mouse. And so there's all these wonderful things. Where we are is here in this red box, Claremont. It's the last town in Los Angeles County. And if you were able to visit, and hopefully that'll happen fairly soon, you might want to consider, if you're going to fly in, you'd want to fly into Ontario Airport as opposed to Los Angeles Airport. This is only about a 10-minute drive from our campus. It's one of the fastest growing airports in the country, and it may serve you better than flying into Los Angeles and dealing with all these people in traffic. So that's kind of where we are in the greater scheme. Let me zoom in a little bit to the valley that we're in. Claremont is called the city of trees and PhDs because there are a group of colleges in a consortium here. Harvey Mudd is located here, but all these hacienda tile roof buildings are members of the Claremont Colleges. So there are 7 separate institutions, all within about a square mile of space. And it's one of the sweetest deals in higher education. There's a total of about 6,000 undergraduate students among 5 undergraduate institutions. Plus there are another maybe 2,000 or so graduate students, but they are not in the same kind of life space, if I can use that term, as the undergraduate students. So the students at the 5 undergraduate places tend to be the dominant ones. These colleges are literally across the street from each other. Actually, between Harvey Mudd and Pitzer, it's not even a street, it's a large rock and a bush. So the opportunity is here for you to be a student at one college and interact with students, take part in social activities, parties, concerts, lectures, dances, athletic contests across the different colleges. You can eat meals at any of the colleges. But we have some shared facilities, a main library system that is massive. It's a little over 2 million volumes. It's all OpenStack. We have support services that we share, plus each college has its own set of resources to help the students. One of the strangest things here is in athletics, where among these 5 teams, you'd think there might be 5 colleges, you might think there are 5 teams or 1 team. In fact, there are 2, where Harvey Mudd College joins students from Scripps College, a college for women, and Claremont McKenna College. And our rivals are literally across the street, Pitzer and Pomona. This is the only place in the country I know of where the away team could dress at home and go a block and a half and play an away match. How crazy is that? And it's kind of a home game for everyone. We also have students who are active in music, all kinds of different things to do. But again, what I'll say is each college has a very distinctive kind of feel, vibe, personality, whatever term you'd like to use there. But by being part of this consortium, you have so much more to choose from. The way that students cross-register to take courses gives you access at one swoop to about 2,500 courses. And all courses for the undergraduates are the same calendars, the same breaks, the same hour of class, so that if you have a 1:15 afternoon class at Harvey Mudd College, it must end at 2:30 to give you 15 minutes to scamper to a different college for a 2:45 class, and that happens universally. So it's really common for students to be able to, and to take advantage of what we call cross-registration by taking courses across the system. As I said, each college has its own kind of feel, its own mission. Harvey Mudd has a very distinctive culture that is born out from this. And if there are 2 main takeaways from this session, I hope this will be one of them, that this mission guides all of our major decisions and how certainly we orient our programs. We're a small college with only 900 students. It's all undergraduates. That is a really sweet deal. It means that you students as undergraduates have the full attention of our faculty, no graduate students, no postdocs, no one can get in your way to access. We're also a pretty diverse college for a STEM-focused school. The last several years, we've been very close to 50-50 male and female, and I think the chances are extremely high that this next fall's entering class will have more women in it than men. That is atypical. It's also diverse in terms of where students come from, the ethnic diversity of the campus. About 20% of our current students are Latinx, a little less than 10% international. Most of the students are from out of state. So it is a pretty diverse group of students that we assemble. And so that's really exciting, I think, for a place to attend college. Getting back to this mission, you can see that we want students to be rounded scientists. We want them to understand the impact of their work on society. So those are key features of this mission, and it plays out particularly in the academic program. The academic program is married to that mission. So this is sort of the big picture of the academic program. Students want to take, students are required to take a common set of courses, this core curriculum. They will have a major, of course, we also require students to take about 30% of their courses in humanities, social sciences, and the arts. And then you also have some wiggle room for electives on the side. So let me get into the details about this academic program. And let me just say that this bar here, this is semester 1, semester 2, so on and so forth. So with this in mind, this is what that first part of the academic program looks like. It is a core curriculum. By core curriculum, I mean every single student is going to take every single one of these courses in yellow here. So this makes sure that students have this broad education that we so much value. But there are some, and so it restricts elective freedom in your first year, to be honest with you. But there's some nice benefits from this. The first is that this could help you choose your major. The faculty have voted that students are not allowed to select a major in their first year. So before you make a commitment to a major, you'll have had some experience with these disciplines and be making a more informed choice. You must make a choice for a major by the end of your second year, but you're not under any obligation until that time to make that declaration. And that may give you some real peace of mind to try some things out first. Another key feature of this core curriculum is the way we teach these courses. The faculty know what is in this core, and so they teach it accordingly. And they make use of the fact that they know that a student walking into their class already has X, Y, or Z kind of information. Let's take as an example this biology class. This is not a garden variety course. The faculty know by the time you enter this course, you've already learned how to code and you've taken a course in multivariable calculus. So the faculty can twist this course in a more computational way that I don't think any other college would dare to do for a first-time biology student. And that's exciting because you can see the connections between different disciplines, and we're leading you to look for those connections. And we think it's extremely healthy for a STEM person to have that kind of inclination. All right, so this interdisciplinary piece is a big feature. Probably the best part of this core curriculum is it encourages an atmosphere of collaboration. I would never describe MUD as a competitive place in the learning environment. In fact, we see ourselves as a STEM version of Leave No Person Behind. So much so that the first semester is not graded. It is a pass or no credit system. So students who are used to getting really high marks in high school and are concerned about the performance, the first term, we simply want you to learn how to learn our way. And so we take the grade pressure off. It's reintroduced in your second semester. So all these virtues collaborate in this core curriculum. And this collaboration piece is really the second big point I hope to impart upon you. I'm going to talk about some of these courses in just a little more detail. This chemistry course is calculus-based. This computer science course is wicked cool. It is the single most popular course through cross-registration of all the courses of 2,500 courses in the Claremont system. This engineering systems class is disguised as an underwater robotics treasure hunt. It's really cool. This writing course is taught across the curriculum. So your writing instructor could be a physicist, could be a chemist, could be an engineer. It's usually team taught, but it is capped at 8 students for 1 professor. So it is very intimate and a lot of interaction with your writing. And that is, I would say, another key value of the educational enterprise at MUD. We want students to become really strong communicators. And you might be surprised not only about how much writing you'll have to do, but how much public speaking. The first time might be a little intimidating, but by the 28th time, you're going to be salty. And we're trying to put you in a position where you can advocate for yourself because you might need funding for your research project, or you might have the best idea of a group. All right, so another segment of the curriculum, as I said, about 30%, has to be completed in the humanities, social sciences, and arts. Here we do not prescribe anything. There is no particular course that we must have every student take. But we work best for students who have an active appetite for courses outside of STEM. And our instructions are that students get to choose, along with an advisor, a variety of different courses in different disciplines. And then every student also takes depth in one. So every student will complete just short of a minor in some field of their choice that's not in STEM, and then electives beyond that. If you want to go beyond this minimum, hey, everyone wins if that's the case. These courses can be completed at Harvey Mudd College. They can be completed through cross-registration in Claremont with other colleges in our town, or through study abroad programs. And about a quarter of our students do study abroad programs in a typical non-pandemic year. So one of the things that's distinctive about courses that are not STEM oriented at Mudd is they're still sometimes influenced by the STEM passions of our students. But it's also the case that our faculty, let me take as a case in point a professor of politics at Harvey Mudd College, since we don't offer a major in political science. And it's a course that liberates the professor from teaching courses that he or she might otherwise be required to teach at another institution. Courses like political theory courses, constitutional law, American foreign policy. So our faculty can sort of cherry pick interesting topics, and they're good enough at this that students from our neighboring colleges actually take Harvey Mudd College courses in the humanities, social sciences, and arts. So I see this as a huge win-win for students. They can take all these courses across different disciplines to meet their needs, and they get to focus on one. Sometimes I'm asked if we have a foreign language requirement. My snarky answer to that is yes, Python, because this course is Python. All right, moving on. I haven't talked about majors. I'll remind you that students typically don't select a major until their sophomore year. The majors are 10. They tend to be very broad-based majors. You'll note here in biology, we have one major in biology, not a distinct major in, say, molecular biology or marine biology as an example. The same holds true for engineering, where we are very atypical and that we offer one major in engineering and not several. So we think engineering problems are complex, are usually interdisciplinary, and as a result, our engineering majors have a required set of courses for the major, separate from the core curriculum. And those will cover things like material science, fluid dynamics, digital systems, a lot of systems engineering, in fact. And then from that foundation, they can carry on into a specific branch if they'd like to, or they continue to play broadly in interdisciplinary if they'd like to. So if your interests are more in chemical engineering, you won't get a degree in chemical engineering, but you will, through your resume and course choices, look very much the part of a chemical engineer. I will add that the engineering program is board certified, so that matters, because you'll get your practitioner's license much more easily that way. We also have some combination majors that are really exciting. This one is extremely unusual. I believe, I don't have all the evidence about this, but I think that Harvey Mudd is one of, at most, a couple handfuls of colleges in the United States that can offer this major to undergraduates. This is something that's much more commonly found at the graduate level, but we can pull it off because all of our students have this strong quantitative background. The other thing I will say is that this is an outstanding place for a student who's really excited about all areas of STEM, but particularly loves mathematics. The number of math courses in Claremont is 140 in a year. So this tiny college of 900 students is offering you basically 140 math courses. And it is going to be extremely hard for you to run out of math courses that way. All right, so this approach puts a lot of pressure on the college to offer a lot of high-end courses, and we do, but also a lot of project and research for students to do that deeper dive. And I've got good news for you. We're an undergraduate institution. So that means that the only people that our faculty can turn to keep their research programs going are the sophomores, the juniors. We have set-asides for first-year students to get involved in research. And in a typical summer, we would hire about 200 of our students to do research for 10 weeks on campus. We're going back to a smaller scale model of that this summer. So we will have students on campus this summer doing live hands-on research, but at a smaller scale than we normally would. My point is that this research opportunity is really, really widely available at MUD. A little initiative on your part will go a very long way, and some faculty actively recruit first-year students for their research programs. You don't have to engage in research early in your career, but by the time you're approaching your senior year of college, now you must. So a senior exercise would either be a senior thesis. This is typical of students who are majoring in a lab-based discipline like chemistry or biology or some areas of physics. It's also the case for a student who's interested in more theoretical areas. The string theorists of the world would do a typical senior thesis. But for the students who major in computer science or engineering or have more applied interests within their major, instead of doing a senior thesis, we'll do this signature program at MUD called Clinic. So what is Clinic? Basically, we have sponsors, usually from industry, sometimes from national labs or think tanks, and they have come up with a research and development problem to spring on us. We assemble a team of about 5 students who are charged with solving this research problem in a year. And since these companies have paid us about $50,000, thank you very much, they'd like return on their investment. So our students are now under the gun to produce and develop some sort of a schematic, as some sort of a process to solve this problem. And in a typical year, we've moved a lot more things sort of into more theoretical areas or simulations this year. But in a typical year, we would have maybe 8 to 15 patent disclosures coming from this Clinic program. Let me give you an example. So one of the big cancer research centers near us gave us a project. Our students built for them a small cylindrical device about this big that would allow a surgeon to remove brain tumors in a less invasive fashion than currently exists. The incision in the scalp need only be a couple of centimeters. Wires inside this device can wiggle through crevices of the brain to the tumor, can chop the tumor up into tiny pieces, extract the pieces, irrigate the system, cauterize the system, poof, and it's out. The virtue of all of this is that whole device is plastic, which means the doctor can keep the MRI working in real time while performing the surgery. So that's pretty cool stuff. You could imagine this kind of work gets attention and it turns into some very nice opportunities. So a lot of the clinic sponsors turn around and try to hire our students because they know they can produce and they can work in teams and they can communicate well. And this shows up very nicely in what we do, what our graduates do after they graduate. So we are a school that traditionally sends a high proportion of its graduating class to graduate school, largely to PhD. This group to graduate school probably is 2/3 towards PhD and maybe 1/3 toward master's or other programs. But the majority of students would typically go into industry, and the recruiters come after our students for those variety of reasons that I just articulated. So this is a college that'll put you on a good pathway, I suspect, but it's because of the nature of our curriculum, the sense of collaboration, the communication skills, the diversity of our students, the ability for our students to work long and hard on deep problems, things like that. But I believe that this is not the best thing about the college. This is. The people are tremendous. If you love math and science, you don't have to apologize for thinking Taylor series or quantum mechanics is cool. You're around people who get it. One of my favorite t-shirts one of our students had said, "Need math help? Call 1-800, and below that was a differential equations problem." You know, just to mess with you. Our students are active in a lot of different clubs and activities. I mentioned sports a little bit earlier about the Claremont system. The most popular intramural sport is inner tube water polo. So if it's warm at 9 o'clock at night, going into a swimming pool might not be a terrible idea and get your dorm mates wet. We have a lot of musicians on our campus, and there are 2 orchestras and a lot of a cappella opportunities. We have a lot of students who see their vision for college is to embrace that sense of having impact. So you'll see large numbers of our students engaged in community activities, community service, community engagement activities. We have things like a homework hotline to help local students who need help with their STEM coursework. And then actually the most popular club is the Cheese Club. So we actually have, for 900 students, a lot of resources to help students find activities that they find appealing. And it's not just Harvey Mudd College, but now you've got to consider that it takes only 6 or 5 minutes to get from Harvey Mudd's campus to some other college's campus walking distance. And so you can join clubs across all these colleges. So I think that's really appealing. You would live on campus at our college. If you're eager for Greek life, you'll have to be content with math and physics, because that's where you'll see deltas and epsilons and sigmas and gammas and lambdas. We don't put those symbols onto buildings. We have 9 different residence halls. We have students in their first year in different groups within each of these 9. So we don't relegate the first year students to one dormitory and say, once you've figured the college out, after you finished your sort of Hunger Games, now you can join the rest of us. No, we want to integrate students very, very quickly. So the upper class students are actively looking out for ways to mentor and support the new students in their first year. And may I remind you that the first semester is pass or no credit. So you're not under the same sort of academic pressure of grade performance, at least, that is common at maybe some other places. The community is very tight knit. It's 900 students. There's several things that tie us together. The fact that we're 900 students, the fact that they all love math and science, the fact that traffic on our campus can only go east or west. That means you can see the same faces again and again. Some of it has to do with the fact that we are run by a student-driven honor code, student-administered honor code. So this emboldens the faculty to give students take-home exams rather than having to proctor them. It means the students treat each other with trust and respect and trust their friends' belongings and looking out for them socially. We have an unwritten rule in our dining hall that every table can accommodate n+1. So if a table is designed to support 8 students, you might see 13 or 14 at that table. So this is a place where, again, it's a great celebration for students who really are keen on learning about as much as possible, who share our values about breadth, both within math and science and in other fields. So there's some questions have populated already about, and one of them I'm going to pick on is what kind of a student is a good fit for Mudd and what kind of student is not. So a student who has I'll start with the second part, student is not. The student doesn't have much of an appetite for math, for areas outside of math and science. That's not going to fly very well with our selection process. If the student doesn't love math and science, I mean, we're a train wreck. So those things are sort of maybe obvious to you. But beyond that, the culture of our campus is so ingrained with this collaboration of creating opportunities for other people, of getting involved and being committed, about being curious about things. Those are some of the values that weigh heavily into what we consider a great community member. And that is where we put more of our effort and our weight in our selection process. So for students who are maybe considering applying next year, I can assure you that we will be test blind, or test optional, I should say, not test blind, we'll be test optional. You may choose to send us SAT or ACT tests, or you may not. This past year, about 40% of the applicants did not send us test scores, and about 40% of those admitted did not send test scores. So I think I know we mean it when we say we're test optional. We do have 3 courses that we insist students have had prior to starting their freshman year. One of those is calculus, one of those is chemistry, one of those is physics. There are reasons for this. I can get into detail. It does not have to be an AP course. We can't dictate school curricular options at various high schools around the country and the world, but you need to have had that preparation because our curriculum depends upon it. You'll send in teacher recommendations. We require you to split them. One has to be from a teacher outside of math and science, English, history, foreign languages, something of that nature. And then one has to be math or science. You can submit more than 2. The most I've ever seen for one applicant was 25. Please don't do that. I will tell you the 5th grade PE teacher did not add a lot to the conversation. I'm not making this up. We are selecting students that we think are going to be well prepared for the college academically. It is not an academic arms race for who has the most number of AP courses. Some of you might attend high schools where students would take AP lunch if they were allowed to. We do not need you to put yourself under that kind of pressure. We want you to be well prepared, but we're particularly interested in finding people who are a good community fit for this college. I will add that we are need blind in our selection process for US citizens and US permanent residents, not so for international students. What this means is whether the student is applying for financial aid or not is not something that we factor into our deliberations about whether to admit a student. I'm pleased to report that our default rate on student loans is 0. We try to keep that at a minimal level. About a quarter of the students we typically offer admission are offered one or a combination of merit scholarships. Most of those you can't apply for. We just throw it at the student and hope that they'll enroll. But there are 3 that you would learn about if you decide to join our mailing list and or looked on our website. There are 3 merit scholarships that students may apply for. And those deadlines are set after all of the application deadline for admission deadlines have passed. So we can then send an email to the entire applicant pool and say, thank you for applying. Here are these merit scholarship programs you can apply for. Please give it a go. All right. SAT, ACT optional, absolutely. Things are still changing for us. It seems that we're making some progress in reducing the number of COVID cases. We are anticipating that we will have in-person classes next fall. I cannot assure you that will be the case. Health officials will have a lot to say about that, but we're anticipating that will be the case next year. We understand that it's been very hard on a lot of people and not been evenly distributed, that hardship, and that the people with fewer resources have been at far greater risk and harm with this. And we're I think, very much understanding of that. We also understand that it's been much harder for students to engage in activities, to make the connections with faculty members, for the people who will write recommendations for you. And we understand that. We now have experience with it, and I think we did a very good job of being understanding the context of the students' learning and process this year. So there are ways to engage us outside of obviously this session. Later on, we hope that you will, but I'm going to stop the share now, and I'm going to post something into the chat area so that you can all, if you'd like to, you can register on our system so we can send you more information that you'd like to have about the college, announcements, program updates, invitations to special opportunities. So we hope that you will do that. You could also join just by going on our website. So now I have some questions. Let me get to some of those here. Are there other airports nearby? There are 6 airports in the Los Angeles area. Ontario International Airport is the closest. It's about 10 miles away. There's actually a privately owned airport that's only about 1.5 miles away. So if any of you are endeavoring to become pilots, this might be a fun place to hang out. But the big airport is Los Angeles. There's John Wayne Airport in Orange County, Burbank, Palm Springs. I'm leaving one out. You get my point. There are several major airports in the area. Question, does HMC accept AP scores? I'm going to increase the question, embellish it to including IB curriculum students. Do we accept IB score results? We're happy to look at those for your application for admission, but we do not give credit for AP scores, nor, to be honest with you, will we give a student who's coming in as a first-year student credit for college courses they might have taken. There are some students who've been really advanced in, say, mathematics or physics or chemistry or computer science or something, and they've gotten, through their high school years, quite a lot of curriculum credit from the local university or online resources, but we will not honor credit for that. Instead, we offer our own advisory exams, and our chief objective here is to make sure that students have the right course for them. Here's an example of what I mean by that. The first course in physics is special relativity theory. There are only 2 students who tested out of that. They're unlike the other children. Who does that? But the first chemistry course is calculus-based. Not every student has had calculus-based chemistry. The first math course is proofs-based. And if you haven't had a lot of experience with proofs and you don't have that control of that subject matter, it may make more sense for you to have our math course first and build up your background in the way that we teach it. But we're ultimately looking to find the right fit for the student, and we'll do it, we're small enough that we'll do it on an individual basis because our freshman classes may be around 230 people. The next question is about what kind of student's a good fit. I hope I've answered that question at least in to some degree of satisfaction. Do we have a motorsports team? Not that I am aware of, but for workout, not for the machine to work out, but for the human body to work out. We do have an activity center on our campus, plus our students can avail themselves of facilities at our neighboring colleges. The performance pavilion at our neighboring college, Claremont College, is practically new. It's about 3 years old now, 4 years old maybe, and it was built at a cost of $75 million. It is a fantastic facility. You can actually stand at the entrance to the building, look through the building, and see the football game going on a Saturday afternoon. Crazy. First-year students are required to live on campus. Absolutely true. Even if you live, in town, in Claremont, there is so much that we depend upon students making connections to each other that it has been significantly detrimental to students who've been allowed to live off campus, particularly in their first year or perhaps even in their second year. So absolutely, unless there's a medical or some other significant reason for the student not to live on campus, my point is we will insist the student lives on campus. Here's a question about GPA. We do not recalculate GPAs. Whatever your school tells us is your GPA, whether it's weighted or unweighted, whether it uses a 4.0 scale, a 100-point scale, we're going to be fine with that. What the real issue is going to be is what kind of courses have you taken, what your grades are in those courses, how many courses, what has been your progression. So the GPA is really not something I pay a lot of attention to, nor do my colleagues when we're reviewing cases. So it's not a matter of having a particular bar that students have to get over in order to get admitted to the college. It's, again, much more about our values, our mission, the community fit, the culture of our college. Here's a case of a student who is got an individual question. And so I'm going to type my answer here. Give me just a second. I cannot multitask very well. I just don't want to, I think the student shared some things that I don't know if every student would want to know. I'm also going to put in the chat here my contact information, remind people of that if you have questions that you think about after this session, because we're maybe in the last 5 minutes now. The students who are happiest, what do they have in common? They're good people. They're energetic, they're bright, they want to be with other people, they want to learn from them, they want to share. I think those are the students I think who have, and I think the students who have a healthy enough sense of confidence. There are a lot of opportunities. Students who are willing to take some chances, some calculated risks are going to really, really benefit from that. Student who plays it safe, I'm not sure they're going to get quite as much out of it. They might, but I think the student who's happiest is willing to engage other people. I don't mean they're the most, outgoing person you've ever met, but yeah. Do we have a swim team or club? Yes. Okay, so the varsity athletics is NCAA Division III, so non-scholarship athletes. The swim team traditionally finishes in the top, maybe I'll say generously 15. It could be top 12 or 10 or 9 or something, maybe even top 5 in a great year. It's a very strong swim program for the varsity team. There are 5 swimming pools across the various campuses in Claremont. So yeah, you can do swimming. The male to female ratio, it's nearly equal 50-50 male and female at our college. As I mentioned at the outset, this incoming class that we anticipate will be in our first year class for the fall 2021 will probably be more women than men by a small margin, not be a 52-48 split, something like that. But overall, the other thing I should mention about this is that our president's a woman, several of the department chairs are women, the head of the engineering department is a woman, the head of the physics department is a woman. What we're trying to establish is an atmosphere where students don't have to see themselves as hyphenated scientists, right? So we want to set up an atmosphere where you're a scientist and wherever you come from is not so much the issue. What percent of students did we accept this year? This year, we were a little bit surprised by the number of applicants. We didn't have a good way of scoping that out. So we had a record number of applicants this year, whereas the previous year, the number had been dropping. So I don't know exactly what to make of that. And as a consequence, another factor reared its head this year is that students who had been admitted a year ago in a relatively large, for us, group decided to defer into entering this fall. It created less of a window, less space for students who are going to be coming in this fall. And as a result, our regular decision accept rate was as low as 10%. And I'm not pleased about that. I wish we could have admitted more students. Do we accept maker portfolios as part of the application? I would ask the student to use discretion for that. Yes, we can, if you have images of it or you drop us a link, I can't promise you that every application reader will take the initiative to chase that down, but you can submit that as part of your application. Pre-med experience. A student interested in medicine has an interesting pathway at MUD because of that core curriculum. What I mean by that is that any student at MUD is going to take courses that any medical school does not need them to take, courses like linear algebra or a systems engineering course or special relativity theory. So a student heading toward medicine is going to be in some ways overqualified in terms of their science background, and it's a heavy load. So we don't have a lot of students who are heading toward medicine, but they make exceptional doctors and they're really, really well prepared. But it has to be sort of the right fit student in some respects, according to the way our curriculum works. Okay, with that, we have only about a minute left. I see some questions about engineering and co-ops. No, we don't have co-ops. We have the clinic program instead. And a quick question, answer to a question, are students given grades in their first year? Yes, in their second semester, but not their first. So with that, Christy, it's back to you. I have talked my head off. I hope this has been useful for you. Please subscribe and please send me an email if you have more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your expertise, and you did put your information in the chat. The students are able to contact you separately if they have more questions, of course. Thank you for everyone attending. This is so incredibly important in making a decision for your future. So students and parents, thank you for being here. And if you're watching this, thank you for watching. Again, thank you to our panelists. We appreciate you and your expertise. And the little tidbit advice is reach out. These folks are there to help you, to guide you, and to make sure that you're making the decision that is right for you. So with that, have a good evening. Best of luck and take care. Bye.